So, hi, here's Michael Leander. I'm here in London actually at the wonderful Cavendish Hotel where Drayton Bird, the legendary direct marketer, has taken time out just to give us a bit of information that's very relevant. So what I'd suggest you do now is, if you have to do something right now, do that. Pause this video because Drayton will be speaking for about 10 minutes and you don't want to miss a minute, okay? So if you have to do something right now, go do that first and then come back and watch what Drayton has to say to you. And if you are on a page where you can see some links, so if there's any links here, I suggest that you follow those links because you'll be able to learn more about what Drayton is talking about. He mentioned some books as well. These links will tell you how to get a hold of those books, and there's some free stuff that he doesn't mention. You can get that free stuff down here as well. So pay attention now. Word over to Drayton Bird. So Drayton, we just spent some days here at the EADIM, the European Academy of Direct and Interactive Marketing, and you were telling me something, and I don't think you meant to actually start telling me about it, but now it's there. So could you complete the sentence, please?
This is true. I've been working for a while on a new presentation which I was going to do, in fact, in America, and it's called What I Learned from Darth Vader. Everybody remembers Star Wars. Everybody remembers Darth Vader. Well, the guy who played Darth Vader inside the suit was a guy I know called Dave Prowse. He was a bodybuilding, he was a weightlifting champion. And I had a job as the creative director of an advertising agency, quite a fashionable London agency, and I threw it all up to go into what was then the mail order business, which is in fact, you could say, one of the forefathers of the direct marketing business, which in itself is the forefather of everything that goes on online. Yeah? So this product was a bodybuilding product called the Bull Worker, which made you big and strong. And you can imagine there was a before and there was an after. And I would say I was the before, and Dave Prowse, big and strong, he was the after. And it so happened that at that time, for the first time, there were a lot of Americans who really understood the mail order business were coming over to England, and I met many of them, some legends in direct marketing, people like Gene Schwartz, who sold more books than anyone else before or since through mail order. He offered me a job, so I met all these people. I learnt a lot from them, but what I learnt most from was the discovery of testing. So imagine, we have this product, it makes you big and strong. The first thing I did was, I was not big and strong. I was even worse then than I am now. I tried it. I used it for a month. I put on a stone, that's 14 pounds of solid muscle, maybe, what, 6 kilograms. So it worked. And then I did all the research into what made it work, and then I did a whole series of things, almost without knowing what I was doing, partly driven by the fact that I'd read as many books as I could on this phenomenon called mail order, which I loved because you could measure all your results, you didn't have to guess. So what did I learn from Bull Worker? I learned, number one, which advertisements did best. And the one that did best was one that said you can build a power pack body in exactly 49 seconds a day using these 7 exercises, or all your money back instantly without question under the terms of our ironclad money back guarantee. So a very long headline. I learnt things that really astounded me. I learnt that if I sent out a letter to people asking them to buy after they'd inquired, if I put at the beginning of the letter something that offered a money-back guarantee and said these things must work or all your money back, up went the response. I learned that if I put a PS to the letter which said, look, we've only got 187 of these units left in the warehouse, up went the response. I learned that it wasn't sufficient to send out one response letter to people who inquired. I could send out 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8. And then I discovered I can send out another one which said, look, we've got a few of these things that have been returned. They're perfectly all right. You can have them a bit cheaper. And then someone else told me, hey, you know what? You could offer an executive bull worker, one that costs a little bit more. I learned which newspapers and which magazines work best. I learned which pages, which days of the week, when, which month in the year. I learned everything. And it just changed my life. I realised that if you measured everything and tested everything, it was incredible. And I built a career on that. I wrote a book about it. I built up an agency. I made a lot of money and then lost it all in a divorce. But the reason I was going to talk about what I learned from Darth Vader was this. And incidentally, when we did a test of Dave Prowse, the Darth Vader we had, and tested him against the man called Cassius Clay, yeah, very famous, Dave Prowse did better, except when Cassius Clay was fighting. You know. So I learned all these little things. How long should the letter be? You know. So what sort of guarantee should you offer? And then, years later, along came a phenomenon called the internet. And I discovered something remarkable. In fact, I put it very well. I was being interviewed, believe it or not, in India, on the news in New Delhi. And the interviewer said to me, what do you think of this online marketing? And I said, it is accelerated direct marketing. It's just direct marketing much faster. And what I meant by that was that whereas if I wanted to find out which newspaper would work best, or which piece of direct mail would work best in the old days when I was working with Darth Vader, it would take me weeks. But then I discovered with the internet, I could have an idea in the morning, send out an email at lunchtime, and by the time I came back home, I would know whether I'd done well or done badly. I thought, this is fantastic. This is speeding everything up. And then I discovered it was even better. I discovered that there was a thing called Google. And I discovered that Google had got this thing called Optimizer, and that I could test everything. Almost since I could see it happening on the screen. I thought if I, all those years ago, in the 1960s, if I'd been able to sit behind my reader's shoulder and watch what my reader did. Did they open the envelope? What did they look at? How long did they look at it? Or if it was an advertisement, which part of the advertisement did they look at? How long? Good God. I would have been in heaven. And the internet could tell me all these things. It could tell me, in 1965, I saw eye tracker tests for advertisements. We used an eye camera, which showed where people looked in advertisements. And then I discovered, I was quite amused when a few years later, 20 years later, I see somebody saying, oh, this is an eye, this shows you where people look on websites. And I'm like, that's interesting, because that's what I found out 40 years ago. Yeah? But what was greatest of all for me is that I've kept practicing at what I do. And I'm getting quite good at it. I think, by the time I give up, I'll be really... So I'm a copywriter. And so now I'm able to find out what works very, very quickly. And I'm able to discover all sorts of new territories, if you like. And you can call them whatever you like. You talk about emails, for instance. I apply much the same thinking to an email as I've always applied to a piece of direct mail, with some slight changes to do with spam filters, yeah? And with some slight changes to do with landing pages and so on. So the technicalities may be different, but the principles are the same. They're exactly the same as all the things I learned all those years ago from Darth Vader. And if you go on the internet and you look up Dave Prowse, and you can actually go and look up Darth Vader, and you will see a clip on the internet of Dave Prowse in his Darth Vader suit, speaking in his strong Bristol accent, because that's where he comes from, before they put James Earl Jones' voice over Darth Vader. And you can even get a commentary from George Lucas saying, we couldn't really use this voice. But all those years ago, all the things I learned haven't changed. And I have to say that I've studied like a mania, and stuff that I learned from people who were working over 100 years ago is still applicable today, and still, thank God, most people don't know it. So if you're watching this, one piece of advice I can give you: if you study, you have such an immeasurable advantage, because most people don't bother. Most people rely on inspiration, or looks, or good luck, or this, that and the other. You can't beat studying. It's with you forever. It's with you forever. I still use stuff that I read 40 years ago. I remember something, oh, I remember seeing that. Yeah. Incredible.
Fantastic. Thanks a lot, Drayton.